Hello, my name is Juliet Metcalf. Why is cultural competency important? Today, our topic demonstrates understanding the notion of culture in a business environment, a key to cultural competency. I'd like to introduce you to our group, overview cultural issues related to race, Michele Gasper, religion, Hayley Mork, gender, Jordan Caruso, education, Brianne Schaefer, and myself, Juliet Metcalf, overview of the topic. Well, there is a common belief that in culture there is related issue in race, religion, gender, and education. A closer examinations prove that there is a solution. Despite the controversial issue, the recent fact shows that overall, 61% of American workers believe increased religious awareness would benefit the workforce. The reason for this is to give you a glimpse of information in our findings, and as a result, it will help your workforce awareness in cultural training program. It is an open-minded to new ways of doing things together in examining attitudes, behavior that distinguish right from wrong. Ask the simple questions. What are the things that you do in your normal life that seem so natural that you forget them? These things makes up culture. Culture is carried over from generation to generation, share ideas, beliefs, and values in the business environment, community, and all across the globe. I will turn you over to Michele Gasper, who will cover the cultural issues related to race, then Hayley Mork on religion, Jordan Caruso on gender, and Brianne Schaefer on education. May the message we deliver brings impact to your workforce vital information, and we hope that you enjoy our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to begin with an overview of cultural issues related to race. I'm going to discuss 3 points: racial discrimination, workplace harassment, and unemployment rates. First, I'd like to explain what they are. Racial discrimination is treating someone, an applicant or employee, unfavorably because he or she is of a different race or because of personal characteristics associated with that race, such as hair texture, skin color, or facial features. Workplace harassment can include racial slurs, offensive or derogatory remarks about a person's race or color, or the display of racially offensive symbols. As far as discrimination goes, a poll taken in 2016, Black voters in New York are far less optimistic about race relations than white voters. 24%, just under a quarter of Black voters, say that race relations in the New York state are excellent or good, compared to 40% of white voters who say the same thing. According to the New York Times, there are only 5 African American CEOs out of Fortune 500 companies. 1%. Harassment seems to be all too common according to an NPR poll. 51% of Black Americans have had a racial slur directed at them. 52% have had negative assumptions or offensive comments said to them. And 40% of Blacks have experienced people act like they are afraid of them. It's clear that the unemployment rate has been historically higher for Blacks in the U.S. than any other race. A University of Wisconsin study revealed that people with African American sounding names are 14% less likely to get a call back from an interview. This may have something to do with the unemployment rate. There are laws in place banning discrimination in the workplace. Title VII prohibits employers from failing or refusing to hire an employee based on their race, firing or disciplining an employee because of their race, paying an employee less or providing them fewer benefits on account of their race, failing to provide benefits, promotions, or opportunities to an employee because of their race, and improperly classifying or segregating employees. Some other solutions may include affirmative action programs. Affirmative action programs are guidelines or plans to help an organization actively seek out members of particular demographics that may be underrepresented. Employers and managers can also implement team-building activities to encourage bonding, openness, communication, and empathy.
Hi, I'm Hayley, and I'm going to be talking to you about cultural issues related to religion in the workplace. A Gallup poll reveals that 80% of Americans say that religion is an important part of their lives. making up a large section of the American workforce. There's been an increased diversity in workplace misunderstandings on religious grounds, resulting in intolerance and conflict between employees. Some examples of these misunderstandings include work schedule, dress and grooming, and religious practice at work. Studies show that only 56% of employers offer time off for religious holiday observances, where 89% of employees felt that they deserved the time off. These statistics show that the conflict may be due to employers not being aware of religious rights of their employees that are protected under the CRA. Overall, 61% of American workers believe increased religious awareness would benefit the workplace. Some solutions that companies should keep in mind include work schedule, like allowing people's schedules to work around their religious holidays and making getting the time off obtainable for them. As far as dressing and grooming goes, it is important to communicate ahead of time what is appropriate and what is not appropriate so that there aren't any misunderstandings down the road. Religious practice at work is also something important for employers to keep in mind. They need to be aware of people needing breaks throughout the day for things like prayer rituals. Another thing to keep in mind is to make sure a project or task isn't directly clashing with an individual's religious belief. Lastly, it is important for companies and HR managers to be aware of the laws when it comes to the employees' rights of religion at work. Thank you, and I'm going to turn you over now to Jordan to talk about gender.
Cultural issues related to gender. Gender has played a role in cultural issues in the workplace since women began working. There are a lot less issues due to gender in the present, but there are still problems that need to be fixed. Gender stereotypes are culturally formed to benefit men, which creates traits that aid them in the workplace. Workplace culture can affect the ease or discontent women or men have when taking maternity or paternity leave. Issues arise when people from different cultural backgrounds enter an environment and society where gender has become more fluid. Stereotypes. Women's traits are negatively stereotyped, making it harder to compete in an often male-dominated workplace. Sexual harassment in the workplace stems off of these stereotypes as well. This affects hiring, promotion, and performance of women, and men are 30% more likely to be promoted to a managerial position. Solutions to this would be to take preventative action to create a safe and fair workplace, mandatory sexual harassment classes, as well as setting a strong, non-discriminatory foundation for all employees. Maternity and paternity leave. Employers are required to accommodate pregnant women, but some companies view this as losing them money. Paternity leave has gained popularity with an evolving social construct about men's roles in the nurturing process of their children. In the U.S., paternity leave is still looked down upon due to past cultural ideals. Solutions to this would be to create rules allowing women and men set leave time after having a child, as well as regulations against discrimination of maternity and paternity leave. Fluidity and transgender. Gender constructs have evolved over time, moving traditional genders onto a fluid scale. Gender identity has a large role in our society now and causes problems with people that do not accept these new gender ideals. Stigma against people who identify differently than their biological sex can also cause discrimination that stunts work progress and ability to excel. Solutions to this would be put in rules that protect people from discrimination based on gender and sexual orientation, as well as create a welcoming environment where everyone can be themselves.
The fourth issue is related to education. Within many different company settings, we are starting to see how education is seen by different cultures. Throughout these different cultural traditions, we may see education that is different from the traditional mainstream approach used by American schools. Difference in education doesn't just stem from the level of education within the school. It can also relate to how much on-the-job training you have performed compared to others. We are starting to see that Americans are having mixed views on how post-high school education prepares you for the future. According to Pew Research Center, 54% of adults in the working labor force say post-high school education is essential for development and new skills. But only 35% of workers say that there is no need to have this level of education. When looking at solutions to cultural issues in the workplace that relate to education, there are many. Employees can have a non-formal educational and training that would advance their employers' careers by 43%. They can also encourage cultural training. This would allow to create a start of a judgment and stereotype-free zone.
We hope this presentation brings awareness to cultural issues in the workplace today. It's important to recall these solutions and take preventative action. Consider implementing affirmative action programs that bring awareness to racial, religious, gender, and educational level discrimination, and have resources available to provide informal training and team building. What are you doing to create empathy and understanding for one another in your workplace? Thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.